Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Thinking for an Age, which I share on my channel, Tunde Akande Live. Today, we have another interesting topic before us, which is titled, But Can't Reincarnation Be Real? But can't reincarnation be real? As usual, let me begin by welcoming my existing subscribers as well as those who are watching me for the first time. If you are watching me for the first time, you are highly welcome. I wish to encourage you to like and share my videos, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the notification icon so that you can always get information about new uploads. I want to remind you also that the issues I discuss here are usually topical ones which are designed to stimulate thought, and as such that it is necessary for you to send in your comments and questions so that we can always take the discussions further. Yes, today's topic is titled, But Can't Reincarnation Be Real? But can't reincarnation be real? People often dismiss the belief in reincarnation with little or no hesitation at all. As soon as the issue is mentioned, they just dismiss it with a wave of the hand, thinking that it is something that is so much of a myth that does not deserve any consideration of any kind. But can't reincarnation be real? Those who dismiss reincarnation as a myth do so for a number of reasons. The most popular among them is that the belief in reincarnation is contrary to the biblical teaching, according to which it is appointed unto man to die but once. So, the question is this belief, is the belief in reincarnation really contrary to the biblical teaching? You see, we must realize that the Bible is a spiritual work, and as such, that its teachings must be given spiritual interpretations. Man is not just this physical flesh and blood. I'm sure we all know and believe that man has an inner essence, which is his real self, and therefore that his real self is not this physical flesh and blood. In the statement in the Bible, it is this inner essence that is referred to as that which dies only once. The Bible speaks about man as a spiritual essence. When it talks about man, in this particular instance, it talks about man as a spiritual being, an entity with an inner essence. So, it is the inner essence that dies only once. This inner essence is not even supposed to die at all. It is supposed to live eternally. It will die only after being given a series of chances or opportunities to develop spiritually. And it continually fails. That is why you talk about the concept of the last judgment, which implies the last chance. It means that man would have been given a series of chances, one of which will be the last. And after that is when this inner essence can die, can be subjected to eternal destruction, which is the only form of death that can become its fate. So when the Bible says that it is appointed unto man to die but once, it does not refer to the physical body. Because you have instances of people in the Bible who died and were raised from the dead by Christ, and then they died again. People like Lazarus and the daughter of, forgotten the name, but one or two stories in the Bible that talk about people who died and they were raised and then they died much later again. If the story or the statement in the Bible that it is appointed unto man to die but once applies to the physical body, then Lazarus and those other people who were raised from the dead will not have died again. So that statement is only apparently contradictory to the Bible because you give it an earthly interpretation. If you give it the spiritual interpretation which it deserves, which is that it is referring to the inner core of man, which is the real essence of man, then you can understand that the belief in reincarnation does not in any way contradict the Bible, because that inner core, that essence of man, can only die once, and that is after it has been subjected to a series of judgments and it continually fails, then it will die. And once it dies, that is the end. That becomes its final fate. So there is no contradiction here. The belief in reincarnation is very much in line with the biblical teaching, which says that it is appointed unto man to die but once after the judgment. After man has been subjected to a series of judgments and he continually fails, the next fate that befalls him is eternal death, spiritual death, which is what the Bible, I think in the book of Hebrews 9:27 or so, refers to. Another reason which people who say that reincarnation is a myth advance is that if reincarnation is real, why do we forget that we lived before? Why do we forget that we lived before? But my quick response to that is that the fact that you have forgotten something is not enough for you to dismiss that thing as unreal. There are very many things that have happened in our lives which we have all forgotten. But the fact that we have forgotten them does not mean that they did not happen. For example, there was a time we were all being breastfed. There was a time we were all walking on falls, crawling on falls, on four legs, so to say. And I'm very sure that many of us no longer remember those days or those times when these things happened in our lives. So would you say that because you have forgotten them, they did not happen? Would you say that because you didn't, or you don't remember when you were being breastfed, when you were crawling, that those things did not happen in your life? So you see, the fact that you have forgotten something is not enough for you to conclude that that thing did not happen. That is one. Two, still on the question of memory. Well, it is not everybody who forgets that he or she lived before. There are people who remember their past lives. So if you have forgotten, it is not even correct to generalize that everybody forgets. There are people who are conscious of their past lives and they remember that they lived before. So for me, whether you remember or not, is a matter of your level of consciousness. People have different degrees of consciousness. People have different degrees of awareness. So you may not be aware that you have that you lived before, but that's not a ground for you to generalize that everybody is not aware or that everybody forgets. So there are people who remember, there are people who are aware of their past lives. People who believe that reincarnation is a myth also have as one of their reasons the fact that if reincarnation is real, it means that all that life promises is an endless and hopeless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. In other words, if we believe in reincarnation, we will be saying that everything about life is about being born, dying, and being reborn. In other words, that life simply goes through a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. They describe this cycle as a hopeless and endless cycle, and for them, it is very unattractive to paint the picture of life like this, as if all that there is about life is to be born, to die, and then to be reborn again. Because they think that this cycle continues forever and ever, and then there is no other purpose to life. But again, this thinking is wrong, because life is not an endless and hopeless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. The conception of life in this pattern, fails to recognize that life has a higher purpose, which is for spiritual development, and that it is only those who fail to develop that reincarnate. That reincarnation is not the goal or the end of life, but that is just a means of being given a second chance to make amends where you fail. So it is not everybody that continues to come back. Those who come back are only those who fail and who need to come back. If you don't fail, if you are able to develop well enough spiritually, you proceed to the next level of life. So life is a continuum, it's a spiritual continuum, which involves ascent to higher and higher realms. So if you are able to develop spiritually, such that you don't need to come back to the earth, you don't need to reincarnate, you don't continue to recycle in the so-called endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. No. Once you have successfully developed spiritually, you proceed to the next level of life, which is on your way to spiritual ascent. So it is not correct to say that life, or that the belief in reincarnation, portends life as a phenomenon of an endless and hopeless cycle that goes through birth, death, and rebirth. Also, if you do not believe in reincarnation, you cannot explain the concept of justice in nature. You see, sometimes you observe people who apparently have done nothing wrong, people who appear innocent in all ramification, undergoing some harsh experiences. They undergo some form of suffering, some difficult situations. And when you take a look at their lives, based on what you know of them, you will discover that they actually appear to be good people who should not deserve to suffer the way they are suffering. But if you believe in reincarnation, you can then see that some of the experiences we go through in this present life are consequences of earlier lives or earlier decisions that we took in our earlier lives. Because, like I said, there are very many instances of people who suffer, and if you check around, you cannot see how and when they deserve such suffering. Examples are children and other categories of people who appear innocent. I say appear innocent because they only appear so to you based on what you think you know about them. Otherwise, before you can actually declare that anybody is innocent, you must know the person right from when he or she was created. Yes. I'm not saying right from when he or she was born, but right from when he or she was created. Because there's a difference between when man is created and when man is born. Being born is just a means of coming to the earth for earthly existence. But man was created long before being born into the earth. Otherwise, if you say that when a child is born is when he's also created, then you'll be saying that people who have been born children who have been born, or babies who have been born in the maternity wards right now are just being created. I'm sure you wouldn't want to say that. So there's a difference between when a man is born and when a man is created. A man is first created before being born. So before you can say that a man is innocent, you must know him or her right from when he or she was created and all the various ways in which he or she has utilized his or her free will, because the things that happen to us are actually consequences of the use of our free will. Again, if you don't believe in reincarnation, you'll be implying that the Creator is rather too harsh and stringent, because as imperfect and as sinful as we are, in our sinfulness and depravity as human beings, we give ourselves second chances, we give ourselves third chances, we give ourselves even fourth chances when we offend ourselves, when we do things that are wrong. When somebody offends you and comes back to plead for forgiveness and to be given a second chance, often you do grant that request by giving them second chances, by giving them third chances, and even more chances. So, are we saying that the Creator is not as merciful and benevolent as we are as human beings, or that we are more merciful and benevolent than the Creator? Reincarnation is just a way of being given another chance to make amends where you could not achieve certain spiritual goals, or you could not develop yourself well enough. You are given a second chance, or a third chance, or a fourth chance to make amends. It is a way of having sympathy and saying, okay, since you have shown remorse, since you are ready to do better, you should be given another chance. And that is really an act of benevolence, an act of kindness, an act of compassion, an act of consideration, which the Creator has woven into creation to make people have more chances to make amends before being subjected to the final judgment. Additionally, people who believe in reincarnation also try to justify their belief by the incidence of child prodigies. You see children who are supposed to be very young to be capable of knowing and doing certain things, display such capacities and capabilities. And if you look at it very well, you cannot figure out where, how they came about those abilities. So you can only imagine that their abilities, or that such abilities are carryovers from previous existence. There are also instances where you go to places and then they look so familiar to you. You look like, I've been here before. I know this place. I know this person. I know this. I've met this person before. I've been here before. These are instances that show that you were there before, and most times they are experiences in your previous lives. You see, the reality of reincarnation was so real to our African ancestors that for them it was a given, and that was why they gave names to children, names such as Tunde, Nena, and such things. They were actually, products of their experiences. They experienced reincarnation. They experienced that people came back to people who were coming back to life. And so that was what informed giving of such names to children. And so reincarnation can be real. There is nothing so concrete that you can hold on to say that it is not real. If you go back and reflect on these points I've made, you will see that reincarnation can actually be real. Let me pause here for today again while I allow you to go back and reflect on these issues. Like I said, endeavor to send in your questions and comments so that we can address gray areas. Remember to also like and share this video and to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so. Please turn on the notification icon also so that you can always be notified each time I upload a new video. Till I come your way again, it's bye for now.